please subscribe to my channel. There is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside you. There is nothing to writing. All you do is sit down at a typewriter and bleed. Tears are words that need to be written. If there's a book that you want to read, but it hasn't been written yet, then you must write it. Fill your paper with the breathings of your heart. If a story is in you, it has got to come out. The worst thing you write is better than the best thing you did not write. I write to give myself strength. I write to be characters that I am not. I write to explore all the things I am afraid of. A professional writer is an amateur who didn't quit. But when people say, "Did you always want to be a writer?" I have to say no. I always was a writer. Either write something worth reading or do something worth writing. Write what disturbs you, what you fear, what you have not been willing to speak about. Be willing to be split open. You only learn to be a better writer by actually writing. If you don't see the book you want on the shelf, write it. Being a writer is like having homework every night for the rest of your life. When all else fails, write what your heart tells you. You can't depend on your eyes when your imagination is out of focus. Be courageous and try to write in a way that scares you a little. The worst enemy to creativity is self-doubt. Writing eases my suffering. Writing is my way of reaffirming my own existence. Good writing is clear thinking made visible. I know nothing in the world that has as much power as a word. Sometimes I write one, and I look at it, until it begins to shine. One asked, "How do you write?" I invariably answer, one word at a time. If you want to be a writer, you must do two things above all others: read a lot and write a lot. You might not write well every day, but you can always edit a bad page. You can't edit a blank page. The writer is by nature a dreamer, a conscious dreamer. You must stay drunk on writing so reality cannot destroy you. Write like it matters and it will. Writing, to me, is simply thinking through my fingers. I will write my way into another life. Waiting for inspiration to write is like standing at the airport waiting for a train. As a writer, you try to listen to what others aren't saying and write about the silence. Don't forget, no one else sees the world the way you do, so no one else can tell the stories that you have to tell. Be ruthless about protecting writing days, i.e., do not cave into endless requests to have essential and long overdue meetings on those days. Every writer I know has trouble writing. A villain is just a victim whose story hasn't been told. If you wait for inspiration to write, you're not a writer, you're a waiter. Writers see the world differently. Every voice we hear, every face we see, every hand we touch could become story fabric. Good writing is supposed to evoke sensation in the reader, not the fact that it is raining, but the feeling of being rained upon. You fail only if you stop writing. To survive, you must tell stories. A writer, I think, is someone who pays attention to the world. A writer never has a vacation. For a writer, life consists of either writing or thinking about writing. What doesn't kill us gives us something new to write about. What cannot be said above all must not be silenced but written. We write to taste life twice, in the moment and in retrospect. Journal writing is a voyage to the interior. If I waited for perfection, I would never write a word. Start writing, no matter what. The water does not flow until the faucet is turned on. No tears in the writer, no tears in the reader. No surprise in the writer, no surprise in the reader. The scariest moment is always just before you start. Fiction is the truth inside the lie. The first draft of anything is shit. Start writing, no matter what. The water does not flow until the faucet is turned on. No tears in the writer, no tears in the reader. No surprise in the writer, no surprise in the reader. The scariest moment is always just before you start. Fiction is the truth inside the lie. The first draft of anything is shit. Don't bend, don't water it down, don't try to make it logical, don't edit your own soul according to the fashion. Rather, follow your most intense obsessions mercilessly. If my doctor told me I had only 6 minutes to live, I wouldn't brood. I'd type a little faster. A word after a word after a word is power. A well-composed book is a magic carpet on which we are wafted to a world that we cannot enter in any other way. The role of a writer is not to say what we can all say, but what we are unable to say. Write the kind of story you would like to read. People will give you all sorts of advice about writing, but if you are not writing something you like, no one else will like it either. If you do not breathe through writing, if you do not cry out in writing, or sing in writing, then don't write, because our culture has no use for it. A little talent is a good thing to have if you want to be a writer. But the only real requirement is the ability to remember every scar. Write what should not be forgotten. I love writing. I love the swirl and swing of words as they tangle with human emotions. Which of us has not felt that the character we are reading in the printed page is more real than the person standing beside us? Amateurs sit and wait for inspiration, the rest of us just get up and go to work. A non-writing writer is a monster courting insanity. I write for the same reason I breathe, because if I didn't, I would die. Your intuition knows what to write, so get out of the way. If you want to be a writer, stop talking about it and sit down and write. If you want to change the world, pick up your pen and write. Writing is a job, a talent, but it's also the place to go in your head. It is the imaginary friend you drink your tea with in the afternoon. If I do not write to empty my mind, I go mad. Read 1,000 books, and your words will flow like a river. If you show someone something you've written, you give them a sharpened stake, lie down in your coffin, and say, when you're ready. Writing is easy. All you have to do is cross out all the wrong words. Write until it becomes as natural as breathing. Write until not writing makes you anxious. You can make anything by writing. If you wish to be a writer, write. The only writer to whom you should compare yourself is the writer you were yesterday. First drafts don't have to be perfect. They just have to be written. To write means more than putting pretty words on a page. The act of writing is to share a part of your soul with the world. A true piece of writing is a dangerous thing. It can change your life. You must write for yourself and not what you think people want to read. Take it one word at a time, one day at a time. Write, write, write. Don't worry so much about being published or discovered. Worry about writing what you have to write, what you need to say and how you are going to say it. The rest will come.